Hello everyone, good morning, Jai Shri Krishna. So welcome back to the class. Today's topic is a medical topic that is about the cognitive distortions. Okay, what is a cognition? Let me tell you. The cognition is a kind of the medical term for your mental process that take place in your brain that includes your thinking pattern, your attention span, your languages, your learning, your memory, and your perceptions. All right. So, what is the definition of the cognitive distortions? So, brain distortions or the cognitive distortions that are the irrational patterns of the thinking that can negatively impact how individuals perceive themselves, others, and the world around them. These distortions are often subconscious that can lead to the exaggerated and unrealistic interpretations of situations and contributing to the mental health conditions like the anxiety, depressions, addictions, suicidal thinking, the BPD, the borderline personality disorders, the NPD, the narcissistic personality disorders, and the PTSD, that is a post-traumatic stress disorders, and feeling of the hopelessness, low self-esteem, so on and so forth. So, what are the types? We have the 7 types. All right. The first is the overgeneralizing, second, negative filtering, the third is the catastrophizing, fourth, emotional reasoning, fifth, the mind reading, fourth, blaming others, seventh, black and white thinking, that is known as a self-centered or dichotomous thinking. Okay, mnemonic is here, once MBBS. You can remember ONCE All right. Okay. So first, let's take a first type, overgeneralizing. What does it mean? Overgeneralizing means one bad thing or a series of the bad things that happen, and when a broad conclusions are made from a single event, that is called the overgeneralizing. All right. Let me give an example. Okay. Someone who always thinks, I always fail at the sports. So I always fail at sports, and when in reality they just miss one shot at the end of the basketball game, and even if the shot was so important, it doesn't necessarily reflect their overall athletic ability. Okay, so this is considered an overgeneralizations. So overgeneralization that can lead to the chronic pessimism and negativity about the oneself and the environment based on a single experience. Like, I love this basketball game, and I used to play during my college, and similarly, this incident happened with me. Okay, so this source is taken from Back and Back 2011 book, and you can check out this website. Okay, this is very good for the cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, second example. Suppose you had a great first date with a woman or a man at a coffee shop. Okay, if you are a man, you can consider a woman, and if you are a woman, you can consider a man. Okay, so now she or he asked when we could see each other, the another time again, and but you put it off, and eventually he or she stopped responding to your text, and it turned out like they ghosted on you, and now you are thinking she or he like the romantic music and candlelight dinner, and I couldn't do that, and you are thinking like I used to smoke cigarettes in front of her, and she might didn't like all that, and now she wanted you or like he wanted you. So that's a kind of a deal breaker. And is that written in your DNA, or is it effect upon your self perception and the perception of your friends, and that keeps you swiping his or her profile on a social media again and again and checking out his profile. That is called your overgeneralizing about a person. All right. So now next, what are the remedies for this? The remedies about the scientific studies have shown that the writing down the things that we are grateful for each day, that can have a positive impact on your mental health. What you can do, you can write your journal, your mindful practices, you can give and take the feedbacks, and stop building stories about ourselves for others that only focus on the negative things. Always focus on the positive sides. And do should statements replacement by the want you. How? Should imply the guilt. Okay. For example, if someone says, okay, I should go to the gym. Okay. But there will be guilt if they don't go to the gym. So should also leads to the feeling of the obligations and the duty rather than the feeling of desire or an excitement. Okay. So a replacement statement could be to say, I want to go to the gym, or I want to go to the gym, like that. Okay, so you can consider these remedies, and always remember, just because we cannot remember the good things doesn't mean that they are not happening in our life, they have not happened in our life in our past, or they won't happen again in our future. No, we have to train our minds to be able to remember and focus on what's positive. Okay, and that God wants us to be able to do this, and pray always continually that give thanks in all the circumstances to the Jesus Christ, to any Lord, to the Krishna. Okay, because the God is so important in our life. Okay, so this line is come from the Thessalonians 5th verse, 18th verse, the Holy Bible. Now, second is the negative filtering. What does it mean? It involves the focusing only on the negative aspects of the different situations and the really noticing the positive aspects. Some people are more naturally melancholy, very, very sad and pessimistic, while others are more naturally upbeat and optimistic. Pessimists like to say, "Oh, I am a realist person," and optimists like to say, "I am making reality." Okay, so there is a difference between the pessimist or optimist. Optimist always, so what is the difference between the optimist and the pessimist? The optimistic always thinks about the future. Pessimist always lives in present. Okay, so here's another example that you perform in a play, and afterward everyone told you how good your performance was, except one person who jokingly said, "You could have done better, dude." So now, negative filtering, that would mean that you are focusing almost exclusively merely on one comment and using it as evidence that I embarrassed myself on a stage, just because we more naturally notice the negative aspects of their life. Okay, doesn't mean that they are not also positive aspects. So he who was seated on the throne said that I am making everything. Okay, means that he is talking about the future. Okay, I am making the everything new. Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." And this comes from the Revelation. Okay, the 5th verse, the Holy Bible. The third, the catastrophizing. The means that imagine something to be the catastrophe. Okay, dangers. Catastrophe. It that involves the focusing on the worst possible outcome and seeing it as most likely. So here is an example, one example that might be you are thinking like, my boyfriend or my girlfriend hasn't responded me to my text for an hour, and it's probably because she or like he is going to break up with me, and if she does, I'm going to be the devastated. Just because we are afraid that something bad is going to happen doesn't necessarily mean that is going to happen. So our job is just to the next right thing over and over, focusing on what is in our control as opposed to what is not in our control. So let tomorrow worry about itself. So the catastrophe distortions is like a binocular trick because it skews perspective. So the catastrophe distortion is like a binocular trick because it skews our perspective through either the exaggerating or the minimizing the importance. Okay. Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow we'll go to this city. Okay. This city, for example, Interlaken. Okay, in Switzerland. So we'll spend a year there and carry on our business and we'll make money. Why? We. I don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What's your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Okay, mist, a cloud of tiny droplets. So we should not think that much. Okay, so this is verse is taken from the James the Holy Bible. Now, fourth is the emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is a way of judging yourself or your circumstances based on your emotions. If you experience feelings of guilt or the emotional reasoning, that is your fact, that would lead you to conclude that you are a bad person, you are a toxic person, you are a worthless person. So emotional reasoning occurs when we accept our emotions as a fact. It is often described as an "I feel it, therefore it must be true." You are feeling, no, that's why it must be true. And this is a common distortion because emotions are so powerful, but they are not necessarily the truth. Okay, it comes from the Hoffman et al. And for example, like, I feel lucky tonight, I'll bet my paycheck on that horse race. Yes, why not? Because this is my emotional reasoning. And you can check out the Dr. Albert Hoffman's book. He is a Swiss chemist doctor, and he is known for the best book that is called the LSD, My Problem Child, the lysergic acid diethylamide. Okay. the lysergic acid diethylamide. You can read that book, the My Problem Child. Now, the fifth is a mind reading. Mind reading means you might guess or assuming that we know what others are thinking without having the good reasons to assume it. For example, my neighbors might think that I am a loser. Every time we make an assumptions about someone who has hurt or disappointed us without confirming it, we believe a lie about that person in our head because we have not checked it out with them. We have not investigated on them. So it is very possible that we are believing something untrue. So when we leave the reality for a mental creation, for our own doing, for our hidden assumptions, we create a counterfeit world. So in which we exclude the God from our lives because as per our assumptions, yeah, God doesn't exist outside the reality. Okay, outside of the reality and the truth. Just because we think we know that what someone else is thinking doesn't mean that we know everything. Okay, so you have to consider this. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Okay, until unless you have not investigated, you have not checked it out. Okay, it comes from the Exodus 6th verse. Now, why mind reading is important in the workplace? For instance, like some people, family members, your friends, your staff members might expect others to automatically know what they are thinking, which excuses them from having to express themselves. And this situations puts them in a very unfair positions. The many times they're relying on mind that reading as a communication style, and that can lead to the awkward misunderstandings and a nagging sense of anxiety about the status of relationships. Okay, so that's why the mind reading is very bad. Okay, you should not do. Stop doing mind reading of others. God has not made our heads with the windows that allow us to look in the each of others' minds and pretending that we can or should be able to see. So we can or should be able to see what someone else is thinking it and often bring us to the wrong conclusions and destroy others' life, even sometimes our life as well. Okay. Now six is a blaming others. Blaming. It involves the thinking of others as a source of all the negative feelings and experience because of them. The first example is I am angry all the time and it's my brother's fault for bullying me as a kid, or like my parents didn't tend to my needs growing up and that's why I have all these problems. Second example, the blaming distortions puts the responsibility entirely on other people or the events that in our lives it convinces us that we are merely helpless victims of our circumstances. All right. So here, let us take the example of the Bible. Just because of the bad things happen doesn't mean that we are excused from taking the responsibility for how we respond to them, right? So in the chapter Job, the 7th verse, Bible says, when God speaks to a Job out of the storm cloud, the God says to him, brace yourself like the man, I question you and you will answer me. So in his interactions with the God, the Job has to take the responsibility for himself that he will answer him, even though so many things happened to him that were not his fault. Similarly, we are called to embrace ourselves for our lives and to take the responsibility for our actions and for our responses, how we deal with the situations that come in our way, and not just to put the blame entirely on others or and put the blame entirely on the gods. Okay, on the Jesus Christ, on the Lord Krishna, on any other god. Okay, now, next, the black and white thinking. The black and white thinking that is also known as a dichotomous thinking or all or nothing thinking, just self-centered. So mix of the good and the bad thing distortions involves the categorizing things, situations, and the people as entire good or entirely bad, when in reality almost everything. So when in reality almost everything and everyone is a mix of the good and the bad. Okay, no one is perfect, nothing is perfect. So, what is the seventh last black and white conversations? One example that you are feeling dissatisfied with your social status at your school, your college, your office, and you may think like there's nothing good about this college, this company, every school, every office is the same redeeming qualities like the good professors, good CEO, or an easy commute. Black and white thinking makes it hard to see how good qualities that can coexist with the bad ones. And let us understand there is a clear separation between the eternal life and a death, like wheat and a weeds. Okay, the marriage and the divorces, and the morals and the immorals values. So the Holy Bible teaches us that we, human beings, have been in the image of God. All right, we human beings have been the image of God, which means we have incredible worth and dignity along with the mix of the good and the bad values, okay, good and the bad things, and we all are partially covered up with the sins, okay, half sins. We are not perfect, therefore God created us to be in the black and white world and the black and white religion. All right, so just because you has an imperfection doesn't mean you are entirely bad, or like if I have an imperfection doesn't mean that I'm entirely bad. On the flip side, just because you have some good quality doesn't mean that you are completely perfect. Okay, so moving past black and white thinking means that learning to see others, learning to see people and the world as a whole in a more subtle way. Therefore, we should think healthy and wealthy. Don't believe everything that you think. All right, and everyone is not that perfect. So stop doing the black and white thinking. All right. Now look at this man. Okay. He is having the black and white thoughts in his brain, and the doctor, the counselor is treating him, is asking why you are having the black and white thoughts. Okay. It's a part of fun. Now the Corinthians. Okay. The three and the fourth was, I care very little if I am judged by you or any human court. Indeed, I don't even judge myself. The God Jesus Christ says that I don't even judge myself. So my conscience is very clear, okay? But it doesn't make me innocent that it is the Lord who judges me. All right? So now what are the remedies? The remedy is we need to ask the feedbacks, okay? Empower everyone to actively contribute and provide the feedback on how to improve the mental health. This is very important. Mental health is so important. Please, now I'm also asking you, everyone, that please provide your feedback on my YouTube videos. Okay, which type of videos do you like it most? Okay, please comment below. And if you don't want to comment there, then you can email me. Okay, this is my email ID, drakshita108 at the rate gmail.com. Any questions? Yes, yes, ma'am. Medical astrology says which planet is responsible for the cognitive distortions. Okay, cognitive distortion, the planet moon, especially moon. If your moon is debilitated, okay, it gives a low emotions, emotional instability, decision making challenges, negative thinking, relationship issues, and weak physical health. So So you can judge yourself, you can judge your moon by looking at your zodiac chart, okay? D1 or D9, okay? See the position of your moon. So now what are the remedies for that? If your moon is debilitated or the weak, that you can wear silver, you can worship the Lord Shiva, you can wear the pearl gemstone, you can drink water in the silver glass, you can chant moon mantra, do exercise, meditation, yoga, and you can wear white clothes. Okay, so now let's come to the next slide. Open your D1 chart or D9 chart and see the moon placement. All right, so moon in the 6th house, in the 8th house, and the 12th house. Okay, 6, 8, 12. These houses are considered unfavorable for the moon. Okay, in 3 houses, the moon is weak. When it is placed in them, it can exhibit negative emotions. And specific combinations are there. The moon and Saturn conjunctions gives the heavy and the burdened mind. The moon and Ketu conjunctions gives the feeling of emptiness, okay, loneliness. Moon in the conjunctions with the Rahu gives the phobias, any kind of the phobias and anxiety issues. So moon exalted in Taurus sign anywhere in your chart, okay, especially in the 2nd house, and it provides a strong mind, strong willpower, strong intellect. And the weak, the 1st, 4th, 5th, 7th, and the 10th houses. Okay, these are the 5 houses, and these are the 3 houses. And let's thank you so much for watching this video. Let's connect here on Gmail, on Instagram, or the LinkedIn. This is my brand logo. Okay, and give your feedback. Okay, I'll improve whatever you will say, and tell me the next topic that you want to learn. Okay, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do like, share, and subscribe with your friend. Do like, share with your friends, and subscribe my channel. Okay, See you. Bye bye. We'll meet tomorrow.